Hey everyone, welcome back. The books we are doing this week, because we're doing multiple, are the first three books of the Ice Planet Barbarians series, which proves to be quite interesting. And with me, as always, is my co host,
Maria, who is not thrilled that she had to read all of these books.
So, for those who don't know, Ice Planet Barbarians is basically what it sounds like. It's a self published series of novels that caught the internet by storm a couple months ago because of how bad the covers look and the basic idea of, these blue aliens. I'll probably put up a photo right now of the covers if you're watching this on YouTube. And, it looks pretty cringe. And I did not feel it was as cringe as marketed or expected, while Maria felt it was exactly that cringe.
In some places, I felt it was more cringe than expected because I expected the female point of view, but we listened to the audiobook, and let me tell you, that male audiobook narrator, those sex scenes were...
The male audio, I maintain that he is absolutely hilarious. So why don't we jump in a little bit? The basic premise is that there are like a bunch of 20-something-year-old women, 22-year-old white women, who are, all of whom are attractive for some reason, who are abducted from Earth by alien slavers. And the alien slavers, something goes wrong with their ship, so they're dropped off on an ice planet. And on the ice planet are blue aliens called the Sakwi, who are barbarians, and they're 7 foot tall, blue. They have tails. They have
horns.
They have interesting genital mutations.
Anatomy,
yes. And the girls from there have to make their way with these ice planet barbarians. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, that was a pretty solid summary. So guys, come closer, guys. Like, this was so painful. Nothing else we have read has made me cringe so hard. Now, granted, we're currently reading Savior's Champion, or no,
Savior's Sister.
All those who asked for it, you're getting it. Congratulations. And I'm hating that, but I'm not like cringing. I listened to a couple of glimpses of these with a friend of mine yesterday who's never heard of them, and she died laughing, and I just slowly like self-folded in on myself in the seat next to her.
All right, before we start, I want to get a couple things out of the way, because I am going to make a lot of fun of these novels, and the reason I liked them more than Maria is because I kind of like terrible things, and I felt like the tone was not as serious. Like, the books kind of realize that they're ridiculous.
Yes.
So I'll say one thing. I'm going to make fun of and I'm going to make fun of a lot of the sex stuff. We're still too early for YouTube not to ban us for that. The thing about kinks and people's different kinks is that you are into yours, but everybody else's is ridiculous, and yours is ridiculous to everyone else's. So, for example, foot stuff. I don't get it. It's weird. But I'm sure some of my kinks people also find weird and silly. Everybody else's sex thing that you're not into just seems weird and silly. And so there's an extent to which I don't want to judge too much what the author is enjoying in this book, because, like, and again, the author does not take it super seriously. It's somewhat tongue-in-cheek. But there are some ridiculous things that it's just going to be fun to make fun of, and I'm not going to be able to stop myself.
I will say, as much as these books made me cringe, I read a lot of reviews, and a lot of people just genuinely are here for it. Like Will said, whatever your kink is, it is what it is. And some people just like, I read a review where someone was like, I went into this expecting, like, after seeing all the like internet, like expecting to come into this and laugh my ass off. And I actually had a great time, and I'm reading the second book. And I was like, I am so happy for you. Not my experience. And I will say that this author wrote exactly what she wanted to. We have discussed a couple times authors, who...
I have a lot of respect for authors who write the kind of thing they want to read, so long as they're aware of how it comes off.
Yes.
And also, it's not terribly written like the Savior series.
No, it is terribly written. What are you talking about? This woman doesn't self-edit.
No, okay, true. But the Savior series, you can tell, thinks it's better than this series, which is just like, this is just stream of consciousness, blue alien fic, essentially.
But yeah, it does. The Savior series takes itself very seriously. This does not. But this was also a woman who wrote what she wanted to, and I think, like, first draft was like, I'm done. I did it. I'm done. And I will bring forth to the table as evidence. This author repeats herself, and we're going to do our usual where we like walk you through the plot, guys, but this author does this thing through all the books where she repeats herself 900 times. Perfect example is book 1 is narrated by Georgie, who is the least personalitied of, we have 3 heroines. Each book is a different girl, a different 7-foot alien with a bigger cock each time.
You know, I hadn't noticed that, but you're right. They level up.
Yeah, they keep leveling up. It's insane. But anyway, Georgie is book 1. Her personality is she's from Florida.
She's Southern.
She's Southern, but like with no like actual like being from Florida prepared me for this. And she works in an office. Like Georgie has no personality or like family life, but we'll get to that. Georgie is on the evil alien spaceship. She's been abducted. And this one character named Liz is like, that's Kira. She has a thing implanted into her ear, which makes her able to translate stuff. And then literally like 2 pages later, Georgie says, as if she's narrating this for the first time, Kira's the one with the translator. That is how she is able to understand the aliens. Like it was not said 2 minutes before. Like it just happens over and over. The aliens remark on how the humans have no fur 100 times. Each book, they're like, wow, look at their skin. 3 pages later, wow, they're furless.
And the best part is she reuses descriptions a lot. So one that kind of stuck with me because of its vivid poetry is the air was perfumed with the scent of her arousal. That exact phrase I think is used in each book.
These aliens are really able to smell your arousal. Or if you touched yourself, they can smell it in the air.
But let's start at the beginning. So we're rewinding. Slavers capture them, alien slavers. And what happens is that there are like 20 there aren't 20. There's like 10, I think.
There's 7? Maybe there was 10 and then we only end up with 7 on the ground.
Basically, the first 3 books just have 3 female characters and a bunch of ones in the background, essentially. And so the 3 are Georgie, who's from Florida and is super boring. And for some reason, because of the accent, the southern drawl the narrator gave her, I always imagined as being about 40 and kind of like dumpy in my head.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had the same exact experience.
And then the second character is Liz, who
is a bitch.
I know, and she's hilarious, but Maria did not appreciate that as
so
much
annoying.
as I do.
So annoying.
And then Kira, who's like the sweet one of the group and
yes.
who's like kind of nice.
But besides them, there are a bunch of other women that were taken. There are 6 in these stasis pods because what you discover from Kira, the translator girl, is that these aliens, there's 2 types. There's the little green men, which are basically described as your classic big-headed, black-eyed green men that go beep beep, squawky squawky. And the basketball heads, they're not orange or basketball head shaped, but they have pebbly skin. Kira over her hears the green ones saying that they needed 6 girls to sell. Those are the girls in the stasis pod. But I guess shit was so good, so many women were there to be had that they decided to just get a bunch more to sell. And so those extra girls are in like a little prison. Georgie had gone to sleep when she was taken in like her shorty pajamas. That's literally how she describes them the whole book. Her shorty pajamas, which I imagine are short shorts with like a little tank top. No description of it, but just shorty pajamas. And she wakes up and is weirdly level-headed. Another girl wakes up and screams her head off the whole time and then gets assaulted by a group of aliens.
That's a weirdly serious part of an otherwise silly book.
Quick trigger warnings, guys. There is dubious consent, especially in the first 2 books. The last book, not so much.
Not so much.
But the first 2, lots of dubious consent. And in the first book, within the first 4th, there is I wouldn't say super graphic, but kind of detailed assault scene that was really weirdly rough to get through.
It's weirdly intense. It's not super graphic, but yeah, it is weirdly intense. And it's like, up to this point, the book has been kind of silly. And after this point, the book will get sillier. And then this character later commits suicide because of the trauma. And you're like, oh my god, what? Why is this one person having a human reaction in an otherwise Looney Tunes world?
Yeah, because, like, Georgie comes to, and Liz is like, girl, don't scream. You don't want to see what happens when you scream. And Georgie's like, I got you. And Liz is like, So we're like cattle. They basically hunted us down. They're gonna sell us like cattle. And everybody's like weirdly chill. And except for that one girl who is having what I would say is the most realistic reaction you could have to this entire experience. And basically, Georgie learns that they've been taken. If you make noise or scream or do anything disruptive, the basketball head guards will make you scream for other reasons. Horrifying, guys. I don't know why this is how she decided to open an otherwise ridiculous book.
It is a very odd choice. Anyway, so what happens is that eventually the girls are gonna like plan a revolt type of thing to get out.
A revolution.
I don't remember if they I read this a while ago because Maria reads really slowly. I don't remember if the revolution works and that's what breaks the ship, or if the ship just breaks at the same time.
It's both happening at the same time. The revolution does work, kind of, actually. So they have the plan. Georgie comes in because nobody else has thought about revolting, and Georgie's like, listen, ladies, we gotta get our shit together. Like, do something. So they make a plan where they're going to, during like a night watch when there's only like one guard, one of them will make noise. It's Georgie. And then the rest are supposed to like jump on top of him and like take him down and then hold him hostage and I don't know, negotiate. Their plan was real bad. Initially, all the other girls just like watch, like Georgie gets taken and all the other girls are just like, we're frozen in terror and we're not doing anything. And Georgie's like, fuck you, motherfuckers. And she ends up like bashing his head in. She just bashes his head in and then the ship starts shaking and like tumbling. And then they crash, and Kira hears the aliens say, like, we've got to come back. We've got to leave them here, and we'll come back in a bit. And they just fuck off. Like, the ship's they gotta go someplace. And they fuck off, and it's just, like, a bunch of girls, a dead alien, in the ship. But it's, like, there's only a hole in the top, but they've been detached from. It's like the cargo hold, detached from the rest of the ship. The girls are like, oh shit, now we're on an ice planet. We only have enough seaweed. They literally call them seaweed bars. These weird black bars that taste kind of seaweedish that they eat for nutrients. And they're given 2 a day. And they only have enough seaweed bars for everyone for like a week. Please remember that fact because the author is about to forget that the seaweed bars were supposed to last a week. And they decide Georgie is gonna go into the wilderness, the cold wilderness, and because she's like the least injured, and see if there's anything happening on this planet. Like she pokes her head through, and there's a lot of Star Wars references in this book. Liz and Georgie, the first 2 heroines, are only able to digest information through Star Wars references. So like Georgie pops her head out, and she's like, "It's like Hoth from Star Wars. We shall call it not Hoth." And then there's a later part where she calls creatures Ewoks and somebody else calls them, what is Chewbacca? A Wookiee. Somebody else calls them Wookiees. And like, first off, those 2 things are not the same. But anyway, she gets voted. So she puts on the clothing of the alien she beat to death and bludgeoned the head in and goes out into the wilderness. And here's where we get good old Victal.
This is where the entrance is made of our male romantic lead for book 1, Vectal, the Ice Planet Barbarian, first member of the tribe of the Sakwi.
And he is, I don't know, he's big, he's 7 foot, he's blue, he's got horns. They feel like velvet, you know, they've got like tiny little bits of fur, big old like fangs. Basically, just think of like a hot, horny alien. Like that's like, it's not creative. There's no fun anatomy stuff. It's not like things are in weird places like his heart is in like.
I think that's why people thought this was going to be more ridiculous than it is, because they're just tall blue people with horns and tails. Like they're not like cool, like they have 3 penises or they split or it's like a snake. Like
it's just blue people.
There's one enhancement that we'll talk about later is kind of interesting, but besides that, and the way that Vectel is introduced is that Georgie almost dies because of some fauna, and then she gets stuck in a trap, and she gets like, I think, hung upside down by it.
Yes.
And she passes out, and then Vectel comes up to her, and you know, I'm not the most alpha male person. I'm okay with admitting that. You know, it is what it is. But if I were to come up to someone in the snow and it was a woman, I don't think my first reaction would be to go down on her. What about you, Maria? Let's pretend you're a lesbian for a moment. Gather your lesbian mom's energy around you.
Okay, putting my lesbian cap on, or just pretending I was a man. I also think I too would not go face first into vagina. I don't think that's a regular form of greeting anywhere. But to give some context, Vectal, we're getting narration through his point of view at this point, and he starts talking about how he is resonating for this strange, furless, pale, weak-ass human woman. He doesn't know she's called a human, as he calls her for like the rest of the book. And you find out he has something inside him. You don't know exactly what it is just yet at this point, called a Qui. And the Qui resonates when you find your perfect mate. His Qui has resonated for Georgie, which means like they're mated now. He is insta in love with her, super horny, like taking her to a cave. And then he puts her down in the cave and he's like, I must taste. And this is the beginning of where Maria started truly dying. He must taste of her, which they say all the time, but not just taste of her, but taste of her sweet juices.
Like it's Kool-Aid.
Guys, I can't.
Or Sunny D.
I can't.
Remember Sunny D?
I can't. They also refer to it as honey. And I cannot. I can't. I can't. I don't want to think about it. But anyway, so then we switch over to Georgie's narration, and she wakes up. Well, she doesn't wake up. She thinks she's dreaming, and in her dream, a man is going down on her, and it feels great, Tony the Tiger style.
That's exactly what they are. They're blue Tony the Tigers. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but you're right. That's totally what they are.
And except with horns. But anyway, so she's having this dream, and then she looks down, and there's horns and a blue thing, like a blue man in between her legs, and she's like, that's odd. But guys, she doesn't stop him. She quickly realizes she's awake, and someone, an inhabitant of this planet that they've crash landed on, is giving her oral. And she doesn't scream. She doesn't anything. Now, granted, if it had been described where she was terrified and she didn't like be hurt, but it's more like, it felt too good. We'll let it go.
Okay, all right. So this is the part where we have to have a somewhat more serious discussion of consent and non-con and dubious consent. The thing about books is that generally you only take them as seriously as they signal that you should take them seriously. And this is a book that does not want you to take it very seriously. No. Outside of that like weird thing with the girl in the spaceship, which again was weirdly out of tone with the rest of it, it's kind of understood that like, hey, this is fun. None of this is supposed to be taken super seriously. This is just, it's kind of fun to have some combativeness and some adventurousness in their relationship. So it didn't really bother me. I could see how, and this happens a lot in this book, and then actually more in the second one, not as much in this one. But it does happen, so if that is something that triggers you, I would just be aware of that.
Yes. Vectal is eventually painted as a very positive character. So, like, this is not seen as, like, she literally says, maybe it's just a custom to greet a girl with oral on this planet. In that tone, that is literally the tone the narrator used to say that line. She finishes. He starts positioning himself for a little hide the sausage, and she's like, no, this is where I draw the line. No. And he's like, that's wild. You were just so into this. Why are you saying no? You're so confusing, weird alien creature.
We should say they can't talk.
Yeah, they can't talk.
This is all through hand signals and whatever. And part of it is also that he is weirded out that she doesn't have a Kui.
A Kui.
Right. So he's kind of like weirded out because that's something everyone except very small children.
Or dead people.
So like he's like, okay, we got to get her one. There's something wrong with her.
The Kui resonates for whoever is biologically or physically the best match for you to bear children. That's it. So you can resonate to someone who doesn't have a Kui because they're still biologically able, which is weird because it is known that the humans are weak, and eventually when we discover that the Kuis are these weird parasitic worm parasite symbiotes. So he resonates with her, immediately starts referring to her as his mate. They start doing the whole me.
Dances with wolves.
Yeah, me, Georgie, Vectal, and like that whole thing, and then like food, and then he gives it to her in his language, and like that whole dance, which I will like kind of props for doing, because a lot of books, now granted she takes this out later, the author takes this out, but a lot of books kind of skip over that part with like communication stuff, and it really like it lasts a minute in the very small plot that that this book has.
Each of these books is pretty short. They're only about, I think, like
5,
8 hours.
6?
Five,
No.
yeah, 6 hours on Audible.
He decides, this is his mate. He must take care of her. And he starts talking about Kui sickness, and it's not something that we get told about, like explained until later. And he's like, no, I must take care of her. I must feed her. He sees that she's thin and she's cold, so he's like throwing his blankets on her, and he tries to feed her, but he feeds her raw meat because they only eat raw meat. And she's like, no, I want it cooked. And he's like, ew, why would you want cooked meat? And then, I don't know, this part of the book is really boring.
I actually forgot what happened in the next part. Okay, no, here's what happens, right? He wants to take her back to his village, but she's like, no, we got to go check out the other girls, but they can't talk. So he's kind of just confused as to what she wants to do.
They do something, like, they're taking a bath, and she's like, mountain, like, let's go up the mountain. And he's like, no, mountain, that way. And she decides to use sex as a bargaining chip, which what she does to let him know, if you take me up the mountain, I will sleep with you. I don't think it makes sense. Like, I don't know how anyone would have assumed that is what she meant. But she literally says, like, Georgie Mountain, and then grabs his dick. And that's how, and he knows. He immediately is like, if we go up the mountain, she will let me have her. So they do that. They start trying to go up the mountain. Does this happen before or after? Do they go to the... Yeah, no, it's before, because when she goes to the cave, that's when she gets the ability to speak to him. So they start going, like, kind of up the mountain, and then he decides they're going to stop for the night. And she's like, no, I don't want to stop for the night. I want to keep going. And Vectal's like, no, stop. Stay here. Stay, Georgie. And Georgie's like, no. So she starts walking off and immediately falls through an ice-like path into a cave that has a bunch of... Oh, I forgot what they're called. They don't actually look like Ewoks. They look like Wookiees. They're these white Wookiee creatures, and there's just a ton of them, and they're all...
Yetis, essentially.
Yeah, they're kind of like Yetis, and they start, like, screaming at her, and then Vectal has to jump in and save her. Eventually, after he takes her out, he takes her back to the cave where they were supposed to be the first time. She feels bad, and I think she, like, blows him because she feels bad. I don't know. There's a lot of sex in this, guy.
I thought they did the whole sex at this point.
Yeah, they might have done the whole sex at this point. It might have been where...
I think they did. Because she's like, okay, we should get back to the girls, but, like, also, we can't tonight, and I still want to have sex.
So, yeah, they do it, because she's like, I shouldn't be doing... There's a lot of points where Georgie's like, here I am, getting taken care of by this giant blue alien guy, and all the girls are, like, starving to death in the snow up the mountain. Now, she does try. She doesn't, like, actively forget. She tries a lot to get them up the mountain, but anyway, they have sex that night, and then the next day they head off.
Whoa. This is, now that we need to explain exactly how this works and what the intricacies of the Sakwe biology are. So, there are two enhancements, let's say, to their equipment that I think are relevant here. Do you remember both of them, or should I?
So I'd actually say there's three. Their tongues are ridged and knobby, which makes for what Georgie says is very good oral. I don't know if I necessarily like the sound of that. That sounds a little, like, rough, but anyway.
Yeah, you know how a cat's tongue is sandpaper? I don't think that would...
Yeah, like, I don't, not for me, I'll pass. So that's the one. And the other one is their thinglings are ribbed for her pleasure. They have ridges. They have ridges. And then there is this mysterious nub. She calls it a spur, and then every girl calls it that from this point forth. The spur, a couple of inches up from the top of the cock base, and it's just there, and you're like, huh. She's like, what could that be for? And I'm like, these men are literal rabbits. And by that, I mean rabbit toys. While the one's doing the one thing, the other one's getting the clit. Like, it just...
This is what's weird about it. It's ridiculous, yes, but here's what I find hilarious, is that the female Sakwe do not have a clit, right? So, first of all, it's kind of tragic. But second of all, why do the men have this then? What does it do in Sakwe?
It does nothing, because multiple women are like, what does it do? And they're like, I don't know, it's just a part of my body. It exists here. And, like, at first you're like, is it another, like, pleasure point for the guy? And, like, only one girl really tries. But it does nothing. It
doesn't have a lot of nerve endings.
This author was like, fuck it. I just want my sex toy alien boyfriend, and I'm gonna write it. I'm not gonna justify it within the world building. It's not like, oh, the women have 2 holes and this whole thing, and like nothing. There's no justification for this within universe besides, and it lines up also for the record perfectly to each girl's clit.
Maybe, okay, maybe. Hear me out.
And
No, hold on. The cooey, when it resonates for a girl, it automatically adjusts it to match.
Or maybe that's the physical thing they're looking for. Where they're like, this guy's spur.
They think it's all about fertility, but
this guy's spur is 3 inches up from his dick, and her clit is perfectly placed. The two shall meet. And then also, guys, I hate this. I hate it so much. Also, 2 books end with doggy style.
Yes.
The first 2 books end with doggy style. And they discover.
Well, the Sakwe find it very erotic because they have tails, so they never do it.
Has this author never seen any animal with a tail have sex?
You know what? You mean how dogs have tails? The literal style it's named after?
Or like lions or lizards, because like maybe it's a really big thick tail, but like that's still how, like, guys, this works in the animal kingdom. Can we not pretend a tail is this immovable object? Like, is it right on top of the like Sakwe assholes? Like, I don't understand how this is working. What is happening here? The spur also magically fits perfectly, so when the guy is taking you from behind, you're getting a little anal play. Again, anatomically, how is this working?
It's not like it's prehensile or something.
Exactly,
you know?
It's not, and like for it to match perfectly with the clit and the asshole.
Well, look, we don't necessarily know why the aliens picked these 22-year-old girls in specific, so maybe there was a certain symmetry in body parts they were looking for. A certain ratio.
I can't. And like, again, the Sakwe women do not have a clit. This thing does nothing. It literally, all the men are like, I guess this is just part of my body for no reason. Again, this author unabashedly was like, these are my kinks. This is what I want. I'm not justifying it.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't have some kind of like specialized muscle to make it vibrate. Like in the pelvis, something like that.
Well, no, the fun part is the Sakwe purr. The kui that they have inside them makes them purr. And sometimes it makes you purr, like vibrate so hard that like the girl does feel it. Like, I think it was Liz who mentioned it. But anyway, so Victal and Georgie get it on. She discovers the first half, like that she won't discover until the end of the book, about the anal stuff. They do it, then they go up the mountain, they get to the ship, and he's like, look at all these women. The clan, we forgot to mention, there are only 4 women, and there's like a tribe of there's like 24 or 25 unmated men.
The Sakwe went through some kind of like disease or kui sickness or something like that, which means there's like no women there. So
there was 4 women. They're currently all mated, so like all the unmated guys are literally like twiddling their thumbs. Yeah, so not a good time to be a Sakwe male. And so Victal comes up into this like spaceship, and it's crawling with human women, all looking like sad, and also all the other women are like wasting away and dying from kui sickness. So what we didn't know was that this planet has a toxic chemical in it that if you do not have a kui inside you, will kill you after about 8 days. Georgie, I guess because she was being fed, is fine. They also like the food rations, even though they counted enough for a week, all the women are starving now. It's like the author forgot that she told us it was supposed to last a week, because it's been like 2 days. Georgie's been gone for 2 days. That is it. It hasn't been a long time. And she comes back, and they're literally like dying. There's one girl who, like, Tiffany, she's not waking up. Kira's translator that's embedded in her ear also can understand the Sakwe language, and she realizes Victal is referring to Georgie as his mate, and Georgie's like, say what now? Listen, we smashed, but I don't know. And I had started developing feelings for the big guy. which her and Liz both use that phrase multiple times, and I hate it. So she's developing feelings for the big guy, but she's like, I don't know if I was ready to be like anyone's mate yet. He basically says, I can't take all of you right now. You're weak, and most of you would have to be carried. We've got to go back to my tribe, get a bunch of people, and that's how we'll get you out. And so everybody's like, great. Georgie gets to go off with her giant alien boyfriend who she's been like smashing, and we got to stay here.
They're all also weirdly like okay with her having smashed. They're all like tee tee hee hee hee, and they tease her and stuff.
Yeah, like Liz makes a comment like, listen, if I've got to sleep with the big blue alien to survive, I'm down, which she then spends the first 2/3 of the second book completely going against. But anyway, the two go off to go find the rest of the tribe. While they're on their adventure, they spend the night in the what do they call it?
The Elder Cave.
The Elder Cave. They smash.
I should point out, this is a structural issue throughout the book, is that the sex scenes do not really serve as scenes in the plot. Nothing that happens in them affects what happens next, and it doesn't really tell about the character at all. It really could just be a fade to black, and it would not change. It's a little bit more involved in the second and third book, but especially in this one, they're kind of boring because they actually don't serve a purpose, and they're also not well written. That really should just go without being said, but
it's terrible smut. If you're here for some like high class erotica, this ain't it. This is simple, big dicks, tight women, lots of lubrication, natural lubricant, just
very little chemistry as well. It's hard to explain, but there's not really anything interesting about any of the couples in terms of like personality or tension or it is hard to explain, but they're really lacking a lot in chemistry. And so the sex scenes themselves are really kind of boring and very like everybody has sex in the same way and all the scenes play out in the same way.
All the girls have the same like style of sex. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like people like things differently. Some like it rougher, some like it sweeter, some like it with a lot of emotional like build up, some like dirty talk, some don't like dirty talk. Like there's a lot
some people like feet.
All these women like sex the exact same way, and all the guys, I'd have to say the only couple that kind of does something a little bit different is like the third couple, but then by the end of the book, no. It's more of the same.
Okay, so they're in the Elder Cave, Georgie and Vectel. The Elder Cave is actually the spaceship that the Saqui arrived on the planet on. The computer is still alive, and it downloads Vectel's language into Georgie. And that's when we learn about the Kui and about how they have to have it implanted or they're gonna die. At this point, Georgie actually kind of wants to stay. And she's like, well, I have to think about it because the other girls might not want to, but I kind of like the big guy. And it's like, really? That's all it took was like several... Now, granted, I guess several great orgasms later is all it really takes, but... it's kind of bizarre. And this is a good chance to mention that there's this weird thing in the books where the girls don't really have any life before they got on the alien ship.
You might have noticed we've mentioned nothing.
Yeah, like she mentioned she worked in an office, and that's it. They don't have hobbies, they don't have families, they don't have careers, they don't have interests, they don't have traumas, they don't have relationships.
The only one that this is a little different for is Liz.
Yes, she has a father for 2 paragraphs.
And she hunted with her father and thus is also able to make a bow. We'll get there. It's coming. But no, Georgie, you get nothing. She lived in Florida, and it's not like she has like some funny Florida girl quips. There's nothing like that. Nothing to make Florida like it's like the writer threw a dart onto a map and was like, Orlando it is. We don't know if she has siblings. We don't know if like she had a guy she had a crush on. What TV shows? Like, nothing. This woman is a blank slate prior to the night the aliens picked her up. She's like, I like it here. I don't necessarily want to go back, because the whole plan was to somehow find a way to get the girls back. But what she discovers is if you take the Kui, which they need to because they're definitely not getting off of this planet in 8 days, you cannot leave without dying. They leave the Elder's Cave. They go to where all of his people are. They meet a little bit before they get there. This giant, big, burly gruff hunter named Rahosh, who instantly is like, what the heck do you have, Vectel? And Vectel's like, this is my mate. Her name is Georgie. She is mine. I've resonated. And also there are like a bunch of more of her in a cave up the mountain. And Rahosh is like, say what? And immediately is like, a cave full of women, let me resonate. I am here for it.
I want to point out for a moment that this is like if I had been single all my life and then I found an Ewok and I was like, oh, awesome, it's an Ewok I can have sex with.
Yes.
The humans and the Sakwe do not look the same at all, and yet there's all these Sakwe males are still like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, instant.
Any port in a storm.
Any port in a storm. So they get to the village, and Vectal is like, you must see the healer. And everybody's like, wow, she's kind of weird looking. Oh, wow, she's kind of ugly. And Vectal gives a paragraph-long speech about how beautiful and amazing and wonderful Georgie is. And she literally says, I think this is the part where she's like, oh, he is getting a blowjob tonight. A blowy. Or no, a handy. She says a handy.
Handy is what she said.
But then
and then she upgraded it. Yeah.
To a blowy. Again, I think the author just didn't like go back and read stuff after she wrote it. Because at first he's like, maybe we shouldn't take the unbonded males because, that could get ugly. But then the only people who volunteer to go are the unmated males. So they're going up the mountain. And Georgie at this point has told Vectal, now that they speak the same language, that human girls are different. We don't just decide to be with you because our chests started vibrating. We have to pick you. Because, Vectal's like, no, my queen has picked you. You are my mate. You are mine. And she's like, no. I have to say yes. You have to court me. And he was like, these human women, they need courtship. All you men, if they say no, you must listen. And you're like, oh, look at Vectal establishing some basic consent concepts.
Now he knows better than to just go diving.
There's a funny part when they first went back to the spaceship with all the girls where she's like, is he going to greet them all with oral? And I hope he doesn't, because mine. And he doesn't. So she was like, okay, obviously not a normal greeting. Got it.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, actually. Again, the books can be kind of funny when they want to be sometimes.
Yes.
They're very tongue-in-cheek. There are funny parts. It's just that they're also not that well written.
No, we're not here to, blow any minds. So they all go up the mountain. They find the girls. The girls are even worse off now than they were. And basically, they're like, Vectal can hear purring. And he's like, who's mating? Who's resonating? Which one of you motherfucker back away from the human women? And everybody's like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Nobody's copping up to the fact that they're resonating with random knocked out human women. They're like, these women are dying. We must get quees for them. And to get a quee, they have to take down a giant beast that has the quee inside it. And so they kind of take the girls, they start traveling with them, and then they end up finding instantly, immediately. They leave the cave, and then somebody runs up and is like, I've found the beast we need to slay. And you're like, wow, that was really quick. They take down the beast. Vectal does the majority of the work. They bust the guy open and crack its ribs open, and they start pulling out little white wormy things. And she's like, it literally is a fucking worm parasite that I have to let into my body. He's like, yeah, we just make an incision in your neck. It goes in. Bob's your uncle. And she's like, does it hurt? And he's like, I don't know. We do it to babies. So, I don't remember. And she's like, oh, so awesome. She talks to the girls and she tells them, hey, guys, we might not ever get off this planet. I found a spaceship, but it doesn't work. So our other option is if we're going to stay here, we have to take these quees. Otherwise, we're going to die. And, these guys are horny and lonely, and they'd like to treat you well. Vectal has treated me very well. He's taken care of me. The sex has been bombed. She literally tells them about the Spur.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's relevant information. That's all I'm going to say.
And all the girls are like, no, let's stay here and be alien wives.
Except for Liz. Liz is the only one who's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to die instead.
No, not yet. Not yet. She says yes initially. Because she literally says, if I have to sleep with a big blue alien to, get some food, hell yeah.
Oh, yes. It's the Kui she has a problem with.
It's the Kui she has a problem with. And we only find out in the beginning of the next book. Georgie goes first to take the Kui, because, you know, she's the unofficial leader of the group and she's got to put up a good front. And so they cut it, it goes in her, she blacks out, she comes to, and she instantly feels warmer, she's feeling good. She starts resonating, and resonating, when the purring is happening, it means you're horny. Like, that's it. The Quee would like you to have sex now. She starts resonating, and her and Victal are like, let's go somewhere a little private. And they have sex.
And it's fantastic. Apparently.
Fantastic.
The Cooey just makes everything super great.
Even better, and this is where they do the doggy style anal, and in the middle, it was so funny, I died laughing. In the middle, they're literally going, and she's like, don't stop, and he's like, really giving it to her, guys. And then all of a sudden, a spaceship comes into the planet's atmosphere, so like, loud noise, comes into the atmosphere, hovers over the mountain where all the girls were. They also, the women had trackers in them, so they had to cut them out and throw them, and they threw it into the den of the Wookiee people. The ship does like a lap, and then just fucks off. And that's just in the middle of the sex scene. So they literally stop, watch this, and then go back to having sex when the ship leaves.
I mean, she doesn't have a tail. It's very erotic.
It's very erotic. You know, the anal pleasure, she's very into it. She's never done anything with anal.
This is one of those books where, like, they're just down for anything all the time.
All the time.
Like, it's not like in real life where it's like, okay, you got to ease into things, or like you have preferences.
You got to get comfortable.
Right. No, it's just like everybody's good to go about everything all the time. It's porno logic.
So she's having a great time, and then she goes back, and they're like, you know, some of the people have resonated, and she's like, where's Liz? And then someone's like, her and like Rahash is missing too. They must have resonated. And Georgie's like, I bet she's having a good time. And that's where the book ends. Cut to book 2, where you find out Liz is not having a good time. You can take point on this book because I hate Liz.
Okay, so I like Liz because Liz is hilarious and bitchy all the time, and I just find that hilarious.
I only like it in the last third. That's the only time I like it.
In this book, Rahash kidnaps Liz, and he takes her to a cave far away from everyone else, like a hunting cave, and he cuts open her neck and puts in the Cooey against her wishes.
She literally says no. He holds her down and puts it in her, which, you know, is not treated euphemistically.
Well, not great. Not great. So, and then what happens is that he can understand English, but she doesn't know that, and she can't speak his language, so she spends the first half of the book not thinking he can understand her and just saying shitty things to him all the time, and this comes up in a very erotic way in a little bit that we'll talk about. That's not at all problematic. So basically, the thing about the books is that outside of the questionable consent portions, the male aliens are very concerned about, like, consent and making their women happy and making sure that they're into it. So, like, he doesn't really do anything with her that she doesn't really want to besides the Cooey thing. She keeps trying to get out, and then he brings her back in because she doesn't have any boots to escape, and she'll die in the cold, and then he brings her food. At a certain point, she decides that she's going to go out into the cold and help him hunt. And she makes a bow.
Oh, no. You are skipping one of my favorite scenes ever. It is fucking hysterical, guys. She has the Quee, and she has resonated to him, which she hates. Liz hates not having a choice in things. She was kidnapped by aliens. Nobody asked her. They were gonna sell her. She wasn't gonna get a choice. She crashes on this planet. Now she has to deal with these people. She didn't want a Quee. He forced it to her. Now, against her mental wishes, her body gets hot and bothered every time Rahash, the big, burly, silent type, walks in. And there's a point where it gets so bad. She's lying on the furs. It gets so bad.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you did. I know you did. She starts masturbating, and he walks in on her. He had stepped out to, like, I don't know, go do something. Oh, she wakes up. When she first wakes up after the Quee gets put into her, she's dressed, she's clean, she's wearing clothes, and she is so pissed that this man took her out of her shitty, cold, dirty, skimpy-ass clothing and put her in actual fucking clothing and furs.
Also washed her and, like, bathed her.
Yeah, like, cleaned her. Now, granted, you know, she didn't want it, but, like, he didn't do anything, for this at least, sexual. It was just, this person is dirty and injured. I'm going to take care of them. And she's so pissed. She's so angry. He fucks off. She starts masturbating. He comes back into the cave. And she just keeps masturbating, staring at him going, you don't get this. You can't touch me. This isn't for you. Fuck you, Rahosh. And Rahosh knows what she's saying, so he's like, obviously, despite her being very aroused and obviously wanting me, she doesn't want me to touch her, so I'm not going to, but I am going to masturbate back at her and show her what I have.
What he brings to the table.
What he brings to the table.
Or under the table.
Under the table. So they angry masturbate at each other.
It's kind of hilarious. Well, just making eye contact the whole time.
Just like angry, like, you don't get this, fuck you. And he's like, this is what I...
Okay, the other thing is, we should say that from the male perspective of these books, the point of view, they are constantly talking about their dicks, what their dicks feel, and how great their dicks are, and how the other...
and how hard they are.
And how the women should want their dicks, and how the women keep looking at their dicks. And so it's hilarious the way it is described in the book.
So yeah, they do that. Eventually, like we said, like Will said, she decides she's gonna hunt. Because she's a bad bitch. And she says this twice. And it's, again, the author did not go back to read her stuff. Because there's this point where he ties her up because she's trying to, like, get away. And he's like, nah, you're gonna physically hurt yourself. So she's like, my dad always said you caught more flies with honey than vinegar. So I'm gonna try be sweet. Again, she doesn't think he can understand her. So she starts sweetly talking to him like, hi, let me go. I won't run away. I absolutely will run away, but you don't know that because you don't understand me. Let me go. See? And she's like moving invitingly. And he's just looking at her like, nah, no. And then a while later, she has the exact same thing where she's like, my dad always said, but it's said like she hadn't said it before. Like, it's not like she decides, she goes, I've decided I'm going to use honey again instead of vinegar. Nope. Brand new. So now I'm going to use honey. And again, the author just has an idea, doesn't remember she wrote it, and just says it again.
We should say that Rahosh is a little bit different than the other Sakwi, and that like he's scarred up, one of his horns is broken, and also he's very dickish on the inside, and he's bitter because his mother and his father... Okay, there's something that happened with, I don't totally remember. There's something that happened with the Kui resonating once his...
So what it was his parents didn't get along, but they resonated for each other. And his mom was pissed, did not want it, but they resonated, which means you get so horny you can't help but sleep with each other. They literally say that if you resist having sex, it gets worse. Like, the Kui is just like, give it to me good, and it's gonna make you miserable if you avoid it. So they eventually have sex, they have Rahosh, and then they don't resonate for each other for like a couple of years. Then all of a sudden they resonate again. Dad kidnaps mom and Rahosh, takes them into the wilderness. They are not seen for years. When they finally come back, the baby that resulted from that second resonating between the two is dead. Mom is dead. Rahosh is young, and he's basically been raised away from everybody else his like whole life. His dad gets exiled, so he doesn't know how to like...
Yeah, he's a little socially stunted. He thinks that the Kui is like the be-all and end-all. Like, why is she even fighting this? The Kui is what's up. We have to follow the way of the Kui. Which is... It's interesting. He has a little bit more of a personality than Vectel.
Yes.
The male characters kind of suffer from not having a lot of personality. At least the female characters are somewhat more differentiated, I felt like.
Yes.
But the male characters feel very similar and have a very similar narration tone.
I would say Rahosh has the most different.
Yeah.
His feels a little bit more tribal barbarian-esque. Like Vectel felt a little more sophisticated. Ihako, who's the third guy, feels a little more frat boy. Rahosh has these issues. Like, again, he doesn't know how to connect with people super well, so he's not doing a good job connecting with Homegirl. She decides she's gonna slowly craft an escape plan. She's gonna figure out how to hunt. She's going to take some of the furs that he's been collecting, make herself shoes, and then she's gonna go and she's gonna try surviving on her own, god damn it. So in the middle of the night one night, she escapes. She waits for him to sleep, and then she gets out and she fucks off. He immediately wakes up. She's going around, she finds some trees. The trees are squishy and they don't work, so she's like, dang it. And then she sees this pond of sulfuric water. It smells like eggs, and it has a bunch of bamboo sticks out of it. And she's like, that would probably make a decent bow. And you know, as a reader, because it happened in the first book, that these giant bamboo sticks are attached to fish that are deadly and could eat you that are in this sulfuric water pond. So she goes to get it. She almost falls in. Rahosh saves her. She's so mad, she kisses him, and they start going at it. Like, he goes down on her. It's hysterical because Rahosh thinks this is part of the mating ritual. She starts going, don't you dare lick my pussy. Don't you dare. But at the same time, she is pushing his face because she thinks he doesn't understand her. So she starts pushing his face down to her nether regions. And while he's down there having a great old time, he goes, mine, in English. And she goes, hold the fucking... The fuck what did you say? And she realizes he has spoken to English the whole time. And she is justifiably mad. And he's like, but you never asked. And like, true, she didn't, she just assumed. She never...
You would still think he would have said something.
Yeah, he should have. So anyway, they fight. And at this point, he just talks now. Like, it's not like he remains quiet because he's just quiet. But no, he fully engages with her, speaking wise. They decide to call a truce because she said, you know, you're right, I never did ask you. Let's try to be civil with each other. And he's like, okay, well, I'll let you hunt. Like, she builds a bow, she shows him how to use it, and he's like, okay, I'll let you come on a hunt with me. They go on a hunt, and that is when, while he's off doing something, there is a little baby Wookiee, white Wookiee Yeti creature. And she's like, what is this? You're kind of cute. And then a bunch of the adults come by, and Rahosh suddenly takes over the narration and is like, they are the most unpredictable when you are messing with their children, so this is not good. And it's the book basically Beauty and the Beast's us. You know, in Beauty and the Beast, where like the first third of the movie, the Beast's a dick and everybody's scared of him, and Belle runs away.
This is the part with the wolves.
He sacrifices himself by getting pushed off a cliff so that she can escape, and she goes, finds him passed out, broken-legged, on the ground, makes a thing to pull him back to their cave, nurses him back to health. He comes to, is very horny. Liz is very tired, though, because she's been taking care of him. And there's literally a part where he's like, she keeps leaving the cave and coming back, and I know she masturbated, so why isn't she just having sex with me? I'm not going to push her, obviously.
Apparently, the Kui just does not care if he's mortally wounded. They need to do the thing because they haven't yet.
So literally, she's out trying to take a bath, like wash herself up because she's dirty from taking care of him, and she's tired and like exhausted. And he finds her taking the bath, and he was like, "You've been masturbating." And she's like, "Damn, how did you know?" He's just like, "No, we're doing it now." And she's like, "Okay." It's basically like the sex scenes with Vectal and Georgie. It's not like anything massively different. He goes down on her. Previously, she like played around with blowing him.
Yes.
Back when she thought he couldn't speak English.
And she was trying to figure out if the Spur did anything, and it doesn't, which again is, in terms of world building, is maybe could have been a little better thought out.
And she just like plays around with figuring out what does it for him. Like, she's like, "Oh, you like that, huh? That was pretty good." And she was like, "Worst comes to worst, a girl can always stick to what she knows, and I know how to blow a guy. I know how to deal with a cock." His dick is described as even bigger than Vectal's, and it literally, I think, not his, the next guy's described as 12 inches, but it's like as long as her like forearm. Ladies, for reference. Vaginal canals are not that long. Like, all these women can take these guys fully. Like, there's no, only like 3/4 fit. And, you know, like the last bit just like has to, nope, everybody fits everything perfectly. These women, their uteruses are up here now. Their uteruses are now just like, everything has just been shoved up into their rib cage. It's fine. Everyone's fine. The Kui has expanded the vaginal canal without making the women any different. It's fine.
That is a great point. A lot of things can be explained with the Kui.
It's literally, it's the like magic wand.
What else happened? Okay, so he's healing. They do the sexing. It's great because they're resonating. And then they get found out by the rest of the tribe. What's his name? Hako and a grumpy guy that we'll know. Hayden, who is a super grumpy guy who I'm assuming will be one of the leads in the book 4 or 5. So they get found out, and they're not really that happy with Rahosh because he kidnapped Liz, and that's like not cool by the rules of the tribe. So they come back, and Vectel goes, okay, this wasn't cool, even though at this point Liz is totally cool because she's like, she heard his tragic backstory, she gets what's going on. She's like,
I like the big guy.
it's okay. And Vectel like is like, no, though, you broke one of the rules of the tribe. You're out. Even though they're mated and their cooeys are resonating, and it's like, oh my god.
And she finds out she's pregnant with his baby.
Oh, we forgot something to say about the pregnancies, which, Georgia got pregnant at the end of the first book, too. They all get pregnant very quickly. That's like one of the author's things. Pregnancies on Not Hoth, how long did they last?
3 years.
There you go, 3 years. A 3-year pregnancy.
That's too long.
It's horrific.
That's horrifying. Like,
elephants have like what is it, a year and a half for their kid? This is twice that.
It's insane. So she finds out she's pregnant, and again, at this point, Liz has gone from being bitchy and just like hating everything because she doesn't have a choice, and like being a real bitch, and it's just annoying because you get so tired of hearing about her raging against all the machines, unless you're Will and you like hot bitchy women.
I mean, they're entertaining. I'm sure this won't blow back on my emotional life in any way.
At any point. You'll be fine. Keep this. Bitchy Liz has decided now, nope, Rahash is her guy, and she's specifically, because she realizes they think he kidnapped her, so she's specifically being really sweet to him in front of everyone. She purposefully blows him within hearing distance of the other two, so they know she is a willing, and they don't have sex. She's like, no, they need to know. I am here for you, my man. And then they get back to the thing, and everybody's like, no, Vectal said don't take the human women and just have sex with them, and Rahash, he kidnapped you, and so now he's got to be exiled. This is where Liz's bitchiness really works for me, because Liz decides if her mate has to be exiled, and she has to be here without him, she is going to make everyone's life miserable. She starts telling the other women that they're feeding them rats.
That they're only keeping them around as long as they're useful and like can get pregnant. Sowing all this dissent between the different women and the Sakui, and it's hilarious. It's so funny.
Making women cry and literally being a thorn in Vectal's side. He is literally like, Georgie, fucking deal with your friend. Liz is not, she's just not here for it, and she's really upset, and eventually she thinks, okay, if all you have to do to get exiled is take someone hostage, I'm going to take someone hostage. So she decides to pick amiable Ahako, and she basically like steals his knife, like what was that, and then grabs his knife, like something dumb like that. She's able to get his knife, and then she like holds it at him, and she's like, you're my hostage now, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, if you're my hostage, they have to exile me too because I took you hostage. And he's like, I'll go along. He literally chooses, because Liz is not a threat. He could crush her immediately. So he just decides, I'm going to engage with this. So she holds the knife against his throat, like he crouches, I guess, because he's massive and she's not.
Well, Kira is with them, and Liz has Kira run back to the tribe and be like, hey, I captured Ihako, come and throw me out of the tribe. And the thing is that Ihako has a crush on Kira. He really likes Kira. He calls her Sad Eyes, which is adorable. But Kira isn't really into him for whatever reason, and he doesn't understand why. So he asks Liz, like, hey, how do you court women?
Because once Kira leaves, Liz just sits across from Ahako and they have a normal conversation. Like, she's not even keeping up he knows what's up. We're pretending that you're taking him hostage. But yeah, he asks, like, I can't get Kira to respond. What do I gotta do?
First, Liz goes, you gotta kiss her. And he's like, she doesn't want to be kissed.
He also doesn't know what kissing is yet.
Oh, yeah, none of them knew what kissing was. We forgot to say this, yeah.
Guys, they know what oral is. They regularly do oral. They know that you can put a mouth against a vagina.
But a mouth against another mouth to them is highly erotic and strange. And they call it mouth mating.
They've never heard of it. Nobody's done it. Where are these society of men who just always do oral?
It's hilarious. But after she says, kiss her, and he's like, she doesn't want kisses. And she goes, another mating practice is that the man whittles a recreation of his penis and gives it to the woman. And he's like, That makes sense. I do have a great dick.
And Liz is literally like, what could I say that would most mortify Kira? And she's like, I'm going to make him give her a dildo.
Remember this, it'll be a Chekhov's gun that goes off in book 3.
Goddamn.
So the tribe gets there. Vectel is like, look, we are not going to throw you out. You were pregnant. And she's like, well, Rahash is not doing too great on his own, and you have to now because of the rules. And so Georgie and Vectel, they talk, and what they decide on is that Liz will go out with Rahash hunting, and every 1 out of every 7 days they can come back to the tribe and hang out in the caves. Because Liz didn't even actually like it in the caves. She preferred just being off on her own with Rahash. And this is the first time in the series that until this point has not happened. Maria, would you like to try to guess what that was? Character growth.
Oh.
Liz has a moment where she's like, guys, shut up. All I want in life is to have choices. I didn't have any choices. I did it with Rosh, but then I decided I was okay with it. And now I want the choice to stay with the guy who kidnapped me. So, like, in terms of thematically, it doesn't quite work.
No.
And there's also some stuff about, like, how sad she was that her dad died. That's literally, like, a paragraph and doesn't super make sense either. Again, these books are really light on actual, like, character. They end the book going off into the Not Hoth sunset hunting, and they'll come back every once in a while.
Georgie tells them, and the idea is that if they do this, because now that there's more people, they need extra meat. So the idea is they're not exiled forever. Once Liz is ready to have the baby, they can be unexiled, but they have to hunt all the time for the tribe. But Georgie, like, Liz is like, you know, thanks, Georgie, for talking to Vectal. Like,
you're my girl.
Bro move. Georgie's like, I got you, boo. And then she's like, by the way, if you want to blow Rahash's mind, ask him for doggy style. And I'm like... So book 2 ends exactly the way book 1 did, where they have doggy style, and Liz, again, it immediately hits her asshole, and she's like, don't stop. Do it again. Not like... Oh, you know?
Oh my gosh, it's so dumb. Again, it's like such Looney Tunes porno logic. Oh boy, we still have a whole nother book to go.
Okay, we might have to be quick with this one. So I'm going to summarize a lot of what I think works in this one that doesn't work in the other one. I would say this one has the next one has the most character growth.
Kira and Ahako.
This book is from Kira's point of view. She's the one with the translator. She hates the translator. Not only does it translate everything, but it literally amplifies so she can hear things happening like 100 yards away. So she hears all the other ladies going off to have sex. She hears people talking about stuff. She knows that some people think they're ugly. She knows that Ahako is absolutely trying to woo her, but she's really reluctant to be wooed because she and some other women have not resonated. And the reason they've not resonated is because they cannot have bebis. One girl has an IUD, one girl was pregnant, and the previous bad aliens unpregnated her. They literally, like, they vacuumed it out.
Whoop.
And she's her body's recovering. Once her body recovers enough, she resonates. But Kira knows she will never resonate because when she was 13, she had a sickness, appendicitis, I think,
Appendicitis, yeah.
During which she lost the ability to have kids. She's like, I will never form an attachment to anyone because there's always the chance he could resonate for someone else, and then I will be sad and alone. Kira's a virgin. None of the other women have been virgins. Kira's a virgin. She's always been the quiet one. She's always been the one that, like, guys didn't really, like, want. Like, nobody wanted to marry her, but she was kind of a settling down type of girl. She ain't here to, like, sleep around. So she's just a virgin, and she just wants fucking love, and she loves the attention from Ahako, but she's also really sad because she knows she'll never resonate with him.
And Ahako is just, like, courting her left and right. It's interesting because it's kind of the dynamic of, like, the shy girl and the jock, in that he's, like, super good looking by Sakwe standards, and there's one of the Sakwe females, like, and him were, like, fuck buddies, and now they, like, she wants to get back with him, but he's like, no, I'm all about Kira now. Like, go away, you slut. Because she also resonated for another guy, but she's, like, not that happy with him or something.
Yeah.
I forget what her name is.
Asha,
right. You know, he's trying to win Kira over, so he uses a secret that he learned from Liz in the last book, his secret weapon. And that is, he gives her a perfect recreation of his penis in bone.
Whittled out of bone. To which he says, you have no idea how long I had to stare at my cock to make this. The other hunters thought I was crazy. And poor Kira, who's like, delicate flower, it just has this 12-inch bone dick carving and is dying inside. Poor Kira. And she's like, no, take it back. Like, I can't take this. And he's like, no, but you do not want. And
I'm courting you.
I'm courting you. And she's like, no, don't court me. We can't be together. You're not resonating for me. And he was like, it is fine. Don't worry about it. And she's like, no. It's life or nothing. Eventually, one of the other girls resonates for a guy, and there's a celebration, and they bring out the fermented tea that makes people drunk. Kira gets a little drunk. Ehako finally figures out what a kiss is by asking one of the other girls. He kisses Kira. She's into it. But during this party, she hears the beep beep of the other aliens who are now in the atmosphere. And again, she can hear stuff that's like a mile away saying they're coming back to get the cargo. And she starts immediately freaking out because she's like, they can probably track me because of this damn translator piece. So she instantly is like, I need to get back to the Elder's Cave. You got to take me to the Elder's Cave. And Vectal is like, sure, we will take you to the Elder's Cave. We'll make a party. Other girls who want to download the language, they can go. And she's like, no, it just has to be me. I'll go by myself. Just point me in the right direction. Because she's afraid of scaring everyone by telling them what's happening. But eventually Ehako gets it out of her because they're like planning this whole trip. And she's like, it would be really good if nobody else came with me. And he's like, why? And eventually he goes down on her. And after he goes down on her, she's like, yeah, I heard the other aliens say they were coming back. And he's like, you should have told us. Like,
this is pertinent information.
So they go back to Vectal and they tell Vectal, and Vectal is like, you guys just go. But then this other girl is really like, nope, I gotta go. I want to go. And so they take Hayden and this other girl who's named Harlow. They go up the mountain. They get to the Elder's Cave. She wants the thing taken out. The computer in their old ship can take it out and does a procedure to take it out. And Hako's on the outside like, my mate, what is happening, my darling? Because he has decided he's going to be Kira's mate, even if she doesn't resonate for him. And if he resonates for someone else, he's gonna ignore it. He ends up pitching this to Kira. She agrees. She's very touched. She gets the thing taken out, but she still wants to be able to understand the bird people, like the green alien people. So she gets their language and Vectal's language and the pebbly basketball head aliens language all in at the same time. It knocks her out. Harlow, meanwhile, is like, I'm a mechanic. I'm putting together old parts of the ship to try and make a rock cutter like the old Sakui people did when they originally made the initial cave.
The caves are now becoming very crowded, so there's an old cave that they can go to that used to have Sakui in it, but they also would want one like closer, so they're trying to figure out if they can make another stone cutter.
She realizes the aliens are still coming. They're in the atmosphere. They also realize, because they found like weird footprints, and then she has the computer scan the planet, and she realizes there is an extra Sakui person just roaming around, and they have no idea who he is or what he's doing, but it's left there. She realizes that they're coming, like these aliens are coming to confront their little cave that they're in, and she's like, we gotta have a plan. Does the ship have a gun? Does the ship have defense systems? And like the answer is not really, but Kira's like, we're gonna bluff our way through this. And this is like the most plot you get of any of the books. Kira single-handedly defeats the other aliens.
And what's wonderful is that throughout the plot of her defeating them and like what's going on in the cave, Ehako still thinks about his dick a lot and how much he wants to have sex with her in life and death situations. And it's really odd, but kind of also in keeping with the tone of the book so far.
Yeah, so she's off having like badass, like she gets captured. They end up very much injuring Hayden. Ehako gets injured, but when he comes to, Hayden is like dying, and he has a choice. Do I go after Kira, or do I save my lifelong friend? And so he's trying to get Harlow to build one of those things so you can like drag
sled,
kind of like a sled to drag a body. While she's trying to put the sled together, she gets hit, because you have a very brief chapter in her point of view, all of a sudden out of nowhere. So far it's only been Kira and Ehako, and then she gets bashed on the side of the head and goes black. And so you're like, oh man, that other weird Sakui person who's not part of the tribe.
This is definitely book 4.
We're going to have another, I've taken you to a cave and I will...
I will make you fat with my child.
And then I will return, like, congratulations. If you've read book 2.
Let's redo that.
Kira ends up getting captured. They are not willing to negotiate. She tries, like, bargaining with the old ship. But she knew things could go badly, so she had the ship give her a little capsule of the poison that is in this atmosphere, like a really lethal dosage, so she can just release it into the ship that they've captured her. She'll probably be able to kill them all. And she does. She realizes they're not going to negotiate, so she's going to kill them. She releases the tablet. She also has a thing that will connect this ship to the old Sakui ship, and she ends up destroying their spaceship. She takes a little, like, escape pod, and she ends up landing. She finds Ehako, very nice reunion. She ends up at some point confessing to Ehako that she can't have kids, and she'll, like, never have kids, so he will never resonate with her. And Ehako, because, like, there's this weird thing that happens sometimes in books where, like, if you're a woman and you can't have a kid, you're kind of useless. A lot of pressure is put on, like, women as baby maker. Like that weird quote where, like, J.K. Rowling, there was a thing about, like, people who menstruate, and J.K. Rowling was like, women? And it's like, J.K., what about all the women that don't menstruate?
Yeah, that whole thing that, like, their femininity is tied up with it. And in this case, it makes sense to an extent in that the Kui is all about fertility.
That is it.
Aside from our theory, of course, about clit to spur ratio, which I still think is a much more valid
I think that isn't much valid.
But, so, like, it makes sense. Her conflict and her and Ehako's conflict actually does make a fair amount of sense to me in terms of, like, she's worried that he will, because she's barren.
And he wants kids.
He wants kids, and, you know, he will probably end up resonating for someone else. And what's sweet is that he's like, nah, no. We'll make it work.
I want you, and I think a life with you is better than a life with someone else, even if I can have kids with someone else. And she's like, and I thought that was just going to be, like, how they decided to handle this book, because that's kind of sweet, and it's not something that you see a lot, and it just, like, I was like, good on you, author. That's really...
Yeah, I was like, okay, cool. But wait.
They resonate. Congratulations. The Queen has fixed her infertility issues. She can have a baby. They resonate. They're so happy. Such excitement. Oh, and how it happens is she saves everyone. They go back to the tribe. When they get to the tribe, there's, like, a celebration happening. And Asha grabs Ehako's hand, like, because she's meeting Ehako's family, and he's basically like, this is my mate, Kira. And her mom's like, you resonated. And he was like, no, Mama. I have chosen her. We have not been chosen.
We are chosen mates.
We are chosen mates. And Mama's like, that's fine. I accept you instantly. No cultural backlash. Welcome, Kira. Come to the cave. And then, like, Asha comes, and at one point, like, Kira literally, like, smacks her hand off of Ehako, like, get the fuck away from my man, which is great, because Kira, like, grows a backbone. She's really quiet, mousy in the beginning, and she's coming to her own. You know, she's still really conservative about sex stuff, and she doesn't want other people to hear her.
She doesn't want to do it in the cave with his family.
Yeah.
Weirdo.
But there's this point where, like, Asha grabs him, and she hears him resonate. Her heart starts beating so fast that she can barely hear, and then she realizes, because he literally goes, I am not resonating for Asha. Why he would say it like that, I know not. He is not resonating for Asha. And she realizes that, no, that is not her heart pumping and the blood rushing to her head. It is her resonating for him. And, like, joyous embrace. Eventually, he's so happy he decides to take her to the other cave, because Vectal has decided Ehako is to be the head of the other cave, their clan leader, and they're dividing everything up, and he decides he wants some alone time with his actual now resonant mate, so he takes her to the other cave to show her about it. And, like, there's this one particular cave in the other cave that has, like, paintings on it, and it has its own little, like, bathtub, and she's super happy, and they have sex, and she has brought with her, I don't know why she had it, she brought the dildo, and there's a place on the wall where you can put something, and she was like, now it's home, and she puts his dildo on the wall.
And then later that night,
that's when this was before they resonated. They resonate after everybody moves. No. He takes her there before they resonate. When Asha comes in and is mad, and when he resonates, it's when Asha comes in and is like, my cave is too small. I want this one. And he was like,
oh, you're right.
I am right. And she's like, my cave is too small. I don't like that one. And he's like, but it's literally you and your mate. You don't have kids. Why do you need a bigger one? And she's like, no, I want this cave. And he was like, no, this is my mate's cave. Do you not see the dildo on the wall? And that's when they resonate. But anyway, so they end up having sex as resonant mates, and he was like, would you like me to use this? And he uses the dildo, 12 inches, again, guys, 12 inches, on Kira, and then just has sex with her. And, like, that's the end of book 3. Congratulations, Ice Planet Barbarians.
It's pretty great, I'm not gonna lie.
It's terrible. Don't
It's
lie.
pretty okay. So here's the thing: is that I listen to books at double speed. So for me, this was half the amount of time it was for Maria, and I enjoy bad books. So for me, like I actually had a lot of fun with these. Like they're not good. Again, the sex scenes are really boring. Actually, at a
Ugh.
certain point, there's no character really. None of the girls actually really have a character outside of the planet. The male characters especially get very repetitive. But to me, it was so ridiculous at times. It was kind of fun.
This book made me cringe a lot. Like I sent a photo to Will. I'm gonna share it with you guys because I think you deserve.
I can put it on screen.
I'd been gardening and I was cleaning, and there was a sex scene narrated by the guy, and it was just like me internally dying. And I sent him a photo to chronicle it. It's so annoying. There's so many inconsistencies. You can tell that it wasn't like nobody went back and edited it. And the third book is by far the best. Will's right in that Liz has the most personality. I didn't like her because she was annoying, and like I somehow liked Rahosh more than Liz, despite the fact that he kidnapped a girl. Like I am aware that he was absolutely in the wrong, but at a certain point I was like, man, Rahosh, you could do better.
To be fair, I actually did like Kira a lot too.
Yeah.
I think this book 2 and 3 are more interesting than
Yes.
book 1. Honestly, if you were to read the series, I would just skip book 1. They recap anything important in book 2 and 3, and those are a little bit more interesting. The books slow down whenever there's a sex scene, and you're like, all right, can we pick it up? There's no good banter here. There's no chemistry.
There's nothing happening.
We're just like, lots of very generic sex phrases, but we are definitely going to be reading the next 2, and we might have a guest star.
A guest speaker.
A very notable YouTuber, which you guys will know about in the future after we post this. But before we go, we have to do one thing. Maria, the 3 Sakwe men, Vecto, Rahush, and Ehako. Fuck, marry, kill. Go.
Marry Hako, obviously. He's the only one that listened to consent. Like, he never touched Kira before Kira was... Like, Kira literally was like, yes, do this. Or he was like, are you okay? And she was like, yes, continue. And I respect that. And he's charming. And he's like, listen, I know I'm good at sex. I've practiced. So, like, I think he'd be a good time. And he seems like he'd be a good dad. The problem is, like, Vectal's boring, but Rahosh was a virgin, so like normally I would say
that's
that
a good point.
Yeah, Rahosh before Liz was a virgin, so like that's all his first time, and like I fail to believe, despite what the book would say, that he is instantly that good. At one point, he's like, I shall mate her with my mouth, and I shall fuck her with my tongue. And I'm like, that doesn't sound, despite Liz's reaction to it, does not sound good. So I think I would have to, as much as I think personality-wise, I would prefer to have Rahosh as a fuck buddy. But again, I don't see him
Think about it. All right, before you condemn him, maybe he'd be more malleable. You know what I mean? In terms of, like, you can teach him. You can shape him into who you want him to be.
I mean, I guess in that instance, because my instinct is kill Vectal, fuck Rahosh, marry Hako. Because we knew we were doing this, and so I've thought about it. But, like, again...
You're ruining the bit.
You can cut that part out. That's what I think it would be for me. Hako's the easy one of the 3.
I think that's a good choice. I think that's the smart way to play it.
Thank you. What about you? Our 3...
Oh, that's so easy. I just do the female inverse. I'm killing Georgie minute 1. She's so boring. I'll just a murder. Definitely fuck Liz. And definitely marry Kira, because she is so sweet.
She is so sweet, Miss Sad Eyes. That's it, guys. You know, there's not a lot to comment here about theme or, like, pace. Like he said, the pacing's all over the place. Weirdly enough, though, I'm gonna say this. The world building was not as bad. Besides the weird, like, male genital bits, where you're like, none of this is explained. The world building is actually, like, not terrible. Like, the reason women don't hunt is because... there's not enough women. Women used to hunt, but they can't anymore. So, like, she weirdly... It's not great.
It's actually not terrible,
It's
world
not
building, or even
terrible.
sci-fi to a certain extent.
The sky aliens that kidnapped them initially are terrible. There's nothing there. They're just evil. There's no, like... We don't get any explanation about why they do what they do, or any of that. But as far as the actual Sakui and their society and everything, that I actually found, like... not terrible, and it was very surprising.
Well, what's actually interesting on that note is that, to me, this series and Axiom's End are actually almost similar in the inverse,
Yes.
in that that one also is very interested in alien societies and how aliens would think differently, which this one is not. And also, that one is no sex, all chemistry in
Oh,
terms of the main relationship, and this one is no chemistry, all
all
sex in
sex.
terms of the relationship. So I thought that was actually kind of an interesting inverse between the two.
Yes.
I would ask you which one you prefer, but like, let's be real
Obviously.
here.
And the thing is, what Lindsay Ellis gets with Axiom's End is that women are much more turned on by being teased, like emotionally, the like slow burn, that like there's like this foreplay aspect to Axiom's
The
and
drama, the emotion, the tension.
all that. Like you're waiting for the thing to happen. It's building, it's going, like ah. And this book is like tension? Sexual tension? What is it? There is none.
Ginormous tab A into incredibly wet tab B, slot B. That's a lot of this book. Is so mechanical, and like it does feel almost like it was written by a man, like in terms of like there is just so very, I mean, I shouldn't say anything, I've read a lot of fan fiction written by women, so I kind of know, in that there's very little of that kind of mental aspect. It's just a lot of like describing a porn scene.
And then it's just like all the women are incredibly wet all the time. And like it's not explained that this is because of the Quee, because like Georgie was also really wet prior to the Quee. And it's like, as a woman, it doesn't always work like that. And I feel like there was a lot of things where she was like, we're just going to ignore reality. There is not a single sex scene where I was like, ah, yes.
This is reasonable.
This is something that sounds remote. And here's the thing. I assume most women are going to erotica and these kinds of like bodice ripper. Like this is a space bodice ripper.
Fur ripper.
Yeah, a fur ripper for not reality sex, but like just having a hint of it sprinkled, like just to like, I guess this was written by a human woman, would have been great. That's not what you're here for.
I do respect people who write what they want to read, but these books are ridiculous, and they do get kind of boring at times.
Yes.
So we will see you guys for the next two installments. We're doing book 4 and 5, and again, we'll see if we have a guest star. Talk to you later.
Bye, guys.